Talking about the circumstances that led to the council, the Deep once mentions that Ashoka had instructed one of his ministers to put a stop to wrong practices being followed in the Sangha. Following the king's orders, the minister went to Ashokaram to settle the matter so that the monks would perform the Uposatha ceremony. However, the king had given the minister no specific orders as to what means were to be used to carry out his command. When the minister ordered the monks to hold the ceremony, they refused to obey and hold the ceremony in the company of their false and thieving companions. The minister got very angry and executed several monks for their disobedience of the king's order, saying, "I will force you to hold the Uposatha festival." He only stopped the killing when the king's brother Tissa sat on the seat nearest to the monk to be killed next. When this matter was reported to Ashok, he was distressed and immediately approached the Sangha to know whether he was guilty of the murder of monks. Some thought him guilty and some not. Finally, Mogliputra Tissa was invited to Patliputra to arbitrate in the matter. After several unsuccessful attempts, the elder Tissa was prevailed upon to consent to come to Patliputra. Mogliputra Tissa was now asked by the king when he came in Patliputra whether or not he himself shared the guilt of the murder of the bhikshus by his minister. He declared the king not guilty as he had no intention of killing the monks. After having rested for a week in the pleasant royal park, Mogliputra instructed the king in the holy religion of the Buddha for a week. The king thereafter convoked an assembly of the entire Sangha. The king sat with the Thera on one side. He called the bhikshus of several persuasions to his presence and asked them to expound the teachings of the Blessed One by asking them, what did the Blessed One teach? They set forth their misguided beliefs, such as the doctrine of the eternal soul, and so on. These heretical monks, numbering 60,000, were expelled from the Sangha by the king. He thereafter interrogated the true believers about the doctrine taught by the Blessed One, and they answered that it was Vibhajavad, the religion of the analytical reasoning. When the Thera corroborated the truth of this answer, the king made the request that the Sangha should hold the Uposatha ceremony so that the whole community might be purified of evil elements. Thera Mogliputra Tissa was made the guardian of the Sangha. The Thera headed the proceedings and chose 1,000 monks from the 60,000 participants for the traditional recitation of the Dharma and the Vinaya. All of these 1,000 monks were endowed with the 6 supernormal powers, knowing the 3 Pitakas and versed in the special sciences to make a compilation of the true doctrine. Together with them did he in the Ashokaram make a compilation of the true Dharma. The council went on for 9 months and was conducted in the same manner as the first and the second were held by Mahakashyap and Yas respectively. Halfway through the council, Mogliputra is said to have compiled the Kathavathupakarana, wherein the heretical doctrines were refuted after a thorough examination to ensure that the Dharma remained pure. This book consists of 23 chapters, each containing 812 questions safeguarding the Theravada theory and criticizing and rejecting the views of other sects. In this book, 252 unorthodox opinions put forward by the leading challengers have been proved false. The Kathavattu is the fifth of the 7 books of the Abhidharmapitak and is the only book credited to a definite scholar. It is now generally believed that the compilation of Kathavattu was probably begun but not completed by Mogliputta. As suggested by Andre Barrow, the initial part of the Kathavattu contains only rebuttal of the Sarvastivada and condemnation of the Pudgalvad of the Vatsiputriyas, and perhaps only this portion was prepared by Mogliputta. Attasalani, the commentary of the Dhammasangani, tried to reject the Kathavattu as it was not the utterance of the Buddha himself, but by his disciple Mogliputta Tissa after more than 218 years of the Mahaparinibbana. In spite of all the controversy, Kathavattu is regarded as the best authority on the various schools of that time. The council was closed with the performance of the Pavarana ceremony. The third council, as well as some of the important personalities, for instance, Mogliput himself, and events mentioned in the Deepvansh and the Mahavansh, for instance, the dispatch of missionaries to different countries, are missing in the Ashokavadana. John Strong encounters by saying that the whole thrust of the Sri Lankan Chronicles is to associate the great king Ashok with the specific sect of the Theravadins favored by their authors and by implication by the island of Sri Lanka in general.